Honourable Member for Greenway.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm pleased to have the opportunity to speak on this motion, particularly to highlight the failings of this government and a minister who has overpromised yet chronically under-delivered when it comes to broadband. And I wouldn't presume to lecture those opposite of this government's failing on broadband. In fact, I'll let their own side do it. So we'll start with National Senator Barry O'Sullivan, who in Queensland Country Life in November 2014 highlighted his severe frustration with this government's lack of rollout and lack of attention being paid to rural Queensland. And he says he saw the gaps in the government's highly touted NBN scheme while touring far western Queensland earlier this month. "It's a shame on our nation," Mr O'Sullivan said. "I'm embarrassed to be part of a party whose government would allow this to continue. I think Malcolm should roll his swag out and run his ministry out from here for a month, and then I think Malcolm will change his opinion. Let's see how he goes and hope he doesn't need a phone service or internet, and he'll want to hope he doesn't need medical services." And he went on to say that implementing the technology on an area-by-area basis was harming rural Australians' ability to compete in the global marketplace. And I'll get back to that in a moment. But it's interesting that he also ends by saying he believed everyday Australians would see the unfairness in the gap between city and country infrastructure. "The people of inland Australia feel abandoned by Canberra. They deserve better," he says. Well, on that issue of technology and the infrastructure gap, you need look no further than Senator Fiona Nash, who is not a fan of this government's MTN model because, as she said herself in 2007, saying how the FTTN solution is actually no solution at all, it's widely understood in the telecommunications industry that FTTN will not deliver improved broadband speeds to rural and regional areas. Well, that, Madam Deputy Speaker, is spot on. But I want to highlight a significant issue that I see occurring. And we traditionally understood the digital divide as between metro and non-metro areas, but now it's quite plain that there is a digital divide emerging as between some rural centres and others. And you need look no further than the issues of Tamworth and Armidale. Now, in November 2013, in the Northern Daily Leader, we had regional NBN advocates slamming the Abbott government's broadband plan, saying abolishing the fibre to the premises network would disadvantage regional centres and their surrounding towns. And there is a quote from Inverell councillor and engineer David Jones, who said Tamworth should be bellowing like crazy over the NBN. Mr Jones, who has a consulting business as a civil and structural engineer, said regional MPs should be concerned and fighting for the NBN. Armidale's now complete, that is, the NBN, fibre to the premises, and they have a huge advantage over every other centre in the New England. But again, you don't have to take it from these commentators. You can take it from members of the National Party. When in September last year, the local member, Adam Marshall, New South Wales Nationals MP, speaking in the Armidale Independent, said, "We have a huge advantage in Armidale over all other regional centres in Australia as we are fully NBN connected. We see Armidale as the hub, the incubator of a digital enterprise zone, and from here we can grow into other centres right across our region." Well, that is the story for Armidale, but comparing it to Tamworth, it's quite clear that Tamworth is extremely concerned that they are getting the second-rate non-solution that's being offered under this government. And I would also like to highlight, I recently visited Bathurst in a safe National Party seat. I visited the Bathurst Chamber of Commerce. And number one on their list of issues was the need for a true fibre to the premises network for their businesses. And I quote here from a paper that was provided to me by Mr Steve Semmons, a local who calls himself an advocate for small business. "We are concerned that FTTN will become as ineffective as the current ADSL2. We require FTTP, fibre to the premises. The federal government does not appear to realise the huge impact on business, especially SMEs, they are having by not investing in the technological infrastructure we need to take us successfully into the next 100 years. How many businesses decide not to set up in regional areas because the internet access is too slow or non-existent? The bottleneck to future business success and confidence is the lack of understanding and ignorance of the government's technology policies." So there you have it from locals in these areas, and we can plainly see From the get-go, in April 2013, the promise that all Australians would have the NBN by 2016, that promise didn't even last until Christmas that year. So this is a government that sold off the bush when they sold off Telstra, sold out the bush on wholesale
The honourable
pricing,
member's
and
time
sold
has
off
expired.